Fond of this year that we're about to give because I think I call it the essence of Amaleik. There's a lot of vorts about things. Vorts have their place. Someone came up with a gematria and said Amaleik is this, and it could be a true idea about it. But there's something else when you feel you're touching the essence of what something is about. It doesn't mean there's only one way to speak about the essence of something, but I do feel that this year is really based on the words of Maral. Is one, dealing with the essence of Amaleik. Two is also Chiddush. And I'll prove it to you right now. We know the pasuk that we read on Shabbos, Zocher es asher aseh l'cha Amaleik. Let's remember, Amaleik is mentioned two places in the Torah, in Parshas B'Shalach and Parshas Kiteitzei. B'Shalach is in Shmos, and that's where the story happened. And Kiteitzei is Dvarim, and that's recounting the mitzvah. What happened was in B'Shalach, and now the mitzvah to remember them is in B'Shalach. So in general, if you want to learn more about Amaleik, it's very, very good to look at those two places. And it's easy. It's the end of each. Remember, it's the last part, the last episode of each. The last thing in Parshas B'Shalach, which is one of the early parshios. That's a parsha of Yetzias Mitzrayim, of leaving. Right, that's parsha of Shira Sayam. That's why the Shira is packed parsha. We have the Shira leaving Egypt. It's Chamushim. And we have Amaleik, and then in Kiteitzei we have tons and tons of mitzvahs in Kiteitzei, and the final one is the mitzvah to remember and to wipe out Amaleik. Okay, so there and if you pay attention to the Haftarah, you cover one of the central places where it's mentioned in Navi, which is in Shmuel, when Shaul didn't wipe out Amaleik and lost the Maluch over that, no less. Shaul was a great Shmuel. Shaul was called Bechir Hashem, the chosen of God. It's pretty good, right? It's like sometimes in certain circles they write on wedding invitations in Bechiras Libo, Bechiras Liba, a little bit more of a modern, like the yeshiva is more like Paskilo, like whatever that means, but like Bechiras Liba is more not putting anything down. So you have like Bechiras Liba, her chosen one, okay, it's nice to be chosen by your college, that's good. But imagine if they said you Bechir Hashem, the chosen of God. Shaul was chosen of God. Shichmul Lamala. He was heads and shoulders above other Chachamim. That's why he was chosen. And he lost it because of this tribe. Now, Rosai, allow me to share, before we get into the main part of the shir, a new vort, which I was just machadish yesterday. Agag is the king, right? Great-great-granddaddy of Haman. And Agag came about, really, you know that? Because Shaul didn't kill him, he had relations, I think, that night, and that's where Haman came out of. If Shaul would have done his job, we wouldn't be here today on Tanis Esther. It's pretty crazy, right? But I was just thinking about it. Agag is it's a very interesting word, Agag. So the Shemi Shmuel has a Moridika thing. For years it bothered me. The Gemara Megillah says, you learn Megillah? So, who else learning Megillah? Anybody else? Daf Zayin. So on Daf Zayin it says like this: Katavli l'cha shlishim v'lo revayim. It's a pasuk in Mishlei. I wrote it to you 3 times, not 4 times. And you can only mention Esther came. We live in a world today where Esther is like, of course, we're all looking forward to reading the Megillah. A joyous time. Megillah in certain ways is higher than Kriyas Torah. It's unbelievably high thing, right? But it wasn't always like that. Esther had to come and plead her case. And she said to Chacham Yisrael, Kisvuna L'Doris. I don't want to be a regular sefer. I want to be part of the canon. Write me for generations. Kisvuna L'Doris. And they said, no, we can't. You know why? Because it says that Amaleik gets mentioned 3 times and not 4 times. The pasuk says, "Katav d'chal shlishim v'lo revim." I'm just telling Gemara, right? 3 times. What are the 3 times? Well, 2 we know, guys. You know 2. What are 2? Shmos Kiteitzei, B'Shalach Kiteitzei, and Shmuel. No more room for you, Esther. Ad Shemasa Kasev, until they found. Yerushalmi says Ad Sheri name, and then they found Kasev. Another pasuk says Kasev Zok. I don't want to go what they found. But what's the whole? It always bothered me. Like, why are you being so cheap about Amaleik? Today, everybody, Amaleik, destroy him. Another drash, another shir. You guys probably have it coming out of yours already. I'm impressed you're coming to another shir on Amaleik. Get your call. Well, what? Only 3 times, not 4 times. Bother me. You guys have that horror when you learn the Gemara? It's interesting horror, no? well, what's the big deal? And I mentioned it again. And it was a real fight. And they said no to her at first because of this drasha. Avram, you with me? 3 and not 4. Plus, it's not even before talking about Amaleik. How they even knew that pasuk in Mishnah was referring to Amaleik? I don't know. You have to look in the Mishnah. But okay, I'm sure the Pashtunim don't learn that pasuk talking about Amaleik without even looking at it, right? Okay, because I understood 3 times, not 4 times. So the Shem Yishmael says unbelievable. He says in general, both said the idea of 3 is very, very super important in the world, right? There's our seichel, our ruach, and our body. Right? We operate in machshava dibur maisa. Ever heard that one? Machshava, we think, we speak, and we act. Machshava dibur maisa. And he says the kilkul that Amaleik was doing was in all those areas. In machshava dibur maisa, they made us think terrible thoughts. They made us think bad things about ourselves, bad things about other women, this, that, whatever machshava ra you can imagine. They were mekalka for us. They turned us into bali lashon hara. That was the kilkul and the dibur. And their bodies, they made us do the wrong things. That was that. They made a mess out of us. That's what they had a shlita in 3 places, in our machshava, and our dibur, and our maisa. Not only that, he says they made a kilkel in the alamas called Bria, Yitzira, Asira. There are 4 major alamas we're talking about in the Kabbalistic literature. The Rabbi Chaim talks about a lot. They were mekalkalos of Bria. I wish you can see it on the board a lot of times if the Rabbi Stone refers to these worlds. Bria, Yitzira, Asira. They messed up over there. Yeah, they're mamish mekalkalos, and that's why on Purim, this is beautiful. We have to remember Amaleik. We have to remember them. We have to mention Bepeh, and we have to be mocha them befall. Because the 3 ways that they tried to ruin us, we try to ruin. We have to fix ourselves. Isn't that nice? We have to think about Amaleik. Lo tishkach. We have to mention it. Zachar Bepeh, which we're doing partially today, probably being Mekayim B'Doraisa. We did already, but right. And we have to be mochem. So we fix in 3 things. We have 3 types of mitzvahs on Purim. We have Kriyas and Megillah, which is Bepeh. We have Shmiyas and Megillah and Seichel. And we have mitzvahs that we do. The Suda, and the Mishloach Manas, and the Suda, Mishloach Manas, and the Matanos of Yonas. All about. So it's all about 3. So why not 4? Because here's what you got to know. Because there's a deeper part of the Yid where Amaleik can't penetrate. Our deeper essence, Amaleik never hit there. That's why. That's the 3 and not 4. I was always bothered by this question. What's the big deal? 3 and not 4. It's not 3 and not 4. 3 mentions. What's the 3 is all about? The 3 is all about. The 3 is all about the places that Amaleik can get us, where he destroys us, where he ruins us, where he nails us. But that penetration that Amaleik makes is only 3 places. He can't hit a 4th place. The deeper essence of a Yid, he doesn't, and the deeper world. I mentioned there are 4 worlds. There's Bria, Yitzir, Asiyah. There's also Atzilus, the highest world, the one that's closest to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Netzal, the other, like in Atzil Yadav. The place is so close to the Baruch Shalom. Don't worry, Amaleik doesn't get everywhere, and that's why we always have a call to beat him. So that's how you did the 3 and not 4. Isn't that beautiful? Mamish Nifla. That's why I love the Shem Yishmael. It's Kilachar Yad. In 3 paragraphs, he says this whole thing. So that's how you did 3 and not 4. So I was thinking, guys, what's Agag? Aleph is like, yeah. So this is me now. First of all, Agag. The gematria of Agag is this is New Chedesh. This is not the Shem Yishmael. I can't blame him on this. Everything I said till now is Mamish Shem Yishmael. Agag is Aleph. 7. 7 is the whole natural world. The kilkel of Amaleik is everywhere in the whole natural world, but it's Aleph going into Gimel. What's that? It's A going into 3. It's a very, very bad idea, which we're going to talk about. It's a very, very bad hashkafa, right? And a person has bad idea. One of the Chacham of the Umasolim, one of the non-Jewish scholars said, the grandmother of action is thought. The person, it's just my thoughts. Just thinking, I just have my thoughts. Your thoughts eventually get somewhere. It's not true. The grandfather of action is thought. That's why are you acting? Why are you getting so upset? You had a certain tefisa. Well, he said something to me 2 years ago, and it's been in me, and I've remembered it a certain way, and now I see him, and now he pushed me a little bit, and then I blow up at him. So the grandfather of that push, the grandfather of that blowing up, was the way you saw it. You don't realize he was trying to be nice to you. He pushed you out of the way. Someone's about to hit you. A baseball was out to hit you. You have the wrong tefisa on the wrong. You have the whole wrong perception. He was saving you. Kadosh Baruch Hu was saving you. When you have the wrong, ideas, guys, remember that. That's why ideas are so important. Kashi Hurei Yosef Naver, the Gemara says, the machshavas of Ra are worse sometimes. It's all that people don't appreciate that. It's just my thinking. Your thinking is where it all starts. Your thinking is where it all begins. So it's Aleph going into Gimel, yeah? It's Aleph, it's the bad idea, the bad hashkafa, which we'll talk about. Amaleik has bad ideas, right? Bad ideas, and it goes into killing all Gimel. Now, why the second Gimel? I was thinking that shows it's going further. Not just one level of Gimel, it's all levels of Gimel. And whatever was 3, they were Mekalkel. You know, Machshava Dibur Maisa, Bria Tzira Sia, Ruach Nefesh Neshama, they were Mekalkel deep. That's the idea of Agag, and 1 going to 3 going to another 3. Maybe okay, that was the word, but that was based on the Shem Yishmol. So both sides, but Lamaisa, that was just a little bit of a warm up, but that does say something about Amaleik, that he was really getting all over it. It messed us up on every different level. So now the pasuk says. So let's look again now. Zachor asher asalcha Amaleik b'derech v'teischa Mitzrayim asher karcha b'derech. That now, what's that, guys? You're writing for Karin or Art Scroll. How do you translate karcha?
Happened upon you.
Happened upon you. Everybody's cool with that. That's a pashup shot. Always good to know the pashup shot, guys. If you learn one thing in Shapell's, remember that. Know the pashup shot. Drushes are good. I just said a drusha. I just did it, right? Agag. What's a pashup shot on Agag? Agag. That's a pashup shot. The name, yeah? Okay, that's the pashup shot. I know the pashup shot, and I told you a drush. I told you a gematria, but you always have to know. Otherwise, I had a Talmud once. I don't want to be specific now because it's on tape, but he had accomplished great things in learning, and then he went and learned a different way, and then he turned this like a banana. His thinking was like a banana. You couldn't talk to him about a sugya. Everything he was doing out Chasidus and Kabbalah. Can we just talk about the sugya? Like remember good old Gemara, like Rashi, Tosfos, Shad, Gemara. There's a place for everything, but not. Can we be normal? Like, what is the pashup shad of B'dikas Chametz? Start telling me some Chassidish shad, like. It's so disappointing, I like that stuff, but you have to know that's that, and this is this, yeah? So, karcha b'pashtus means what? Happened upon you. Happened. Okay? Now, karcha is going to be our key word. Now, Rabosai, does anybody know another shot in karcha? Karcha? Froze you, right? The 2 most spoken about pshatim in karcha are the idea, it just happened upon you, like a mikra. Amaleik was a big of a kfira guy. He didn't appreciate Hashkachas Hashem, he didn't appreciate Hashem's way. And the famous shot is that Karcha, he made you cold. Guys, I want to say something, just L'tolas HaTzibur, right? If you hear a lot of ambulances, don't get into it, you guys will go nervous. The big smash yesterday was close to my house. I don't think I ever heard anything in my life that loud. I don't think so. It was really probably half a kilometer from my house. Literally half a kilometer, but the amount of ambulances we were going, you would have thought it was in Baruch Hashem. I don't think there was anybody even died from it. I'm sure whoever was in the car was, But what happens? They see, and I'm telling you this in Tzibur because it's important. Because when you hear a lot of ambulances, you say, "Oh, must be like 20 people must have died," right? As you think, because there were so many ambulances. Not necessarily. What happens? Something happens, and then it goes on the airwaves, and then everybody's going. Everybody has got a siren on their car. Comes as they should. God bless them. But it's not necessarily indicative of. I saw even a friend of mine put on his status, "Oh, this must be really bad." It wasn't, It wasn't really bad. It was a terrible hit. The road is closed. So sharing a public service announcement. It's good to daven anyway. Even if you're one ambulance, it's good to daven. El no refuah no law. You're supposed to give refuah to anybody. Yeah. Yes. But you don't have to get nervous necessarily. Don't think something terrible happened. Okay, so back to this. Karcha, shot number 1 is it was a mikra. Shot number 2 is that the whole world was on fire, was hot with the Ron Shalom. He had done great things for the Jewish people. Kriyas Yamsuf, what could be more incredible? What could be better than that? Right? Incredible. And fellas, who was moved by Kriyas Yamsuf? Not big tzaddikim, right? Not Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu, not the big tzaddikim. Who was it? What does it say, guys? What do we say? Shamu Amim Yergazon Chil Achash Yoshe Palashus. The Palestinians were moved. Alufi Edomites. Edom were Rishayim, right? The wicked people of the world were all moved.
What do you mean moved?
What?
What do you mean?
They were moved. It says the pasuk said they were spiritually moved. They were spiritually shaken. They had a spiritual awakening. Alufi Edom Yoshe Palashus. We say in this Shir Sayam. Right? Chil Achaz, they were frightened. Look at God, we're not going to take on the Jewish people. Chil Achaz, Yoshi Fleishes, Aluf Yadim. When I was younger, they had a T-shirt. They used to have a picture of like an F-16. Don't worry, America, Israel's behind you. After 67, that's what people thought. Take on the Russians, take on the Americans. No one can stop us. There was a feeling like that. So that was a feeling after Kriyas Yamsuf. No one would touch the Jewish people. You can't. What are you, crazy? You're going up to, it's like you and me going up to Mike Tyson. I'm not going to fight Mike Tyson. Even if he's 65, I don't know how old he is. I'm not going to go in the ring with him. I'm going to the ring with the Jewish people. And then there's one fellow jumps into the hot bath and he burns himself because he did get burned. Amaleik lost, but it cools down the bath. Already, okay. Maybe we can fight the Jewish people. Amaleik fought them, but Amaleik lost. Okay, but it's reasonable. You hear? That's what he called. That's to cool down the whole world. Now, Rabbosai, those are the two pshatim everybody knows. I've given this year many times, but we're going to focus on the third shot, and that's one of the reasons I like giving this year because it's a chiddush. Because no one talks about the third shot. Does anybody even know what the third shot is in Asher Karcha? Yes. Mishkav Zocher. He had homosexual relations with you. What is that about? Right? What is that about? Right? So let's read the Rashi together, friends. But again, I point out that's the interesting thing that shot, I believe, is in a certain way the most essential shot, although it's not discussed. Lashon Mikra, Davar Acher, Lashon Keri V'Tuma, Shayim Mitamam B'Mishkav Zocher. What was that about? Like they were just, what is that? Why is the Torah telling us? It's Yichi, right? Davar Acher, Lashon Kor B'Chom, Sanon V'Shira Mir Tichasan. Tichasa, they calmed everybody down from your heat, right? Shayu Ha'ob Dikacham Yureim Lilachem B'Chem. The non-Jews were scared, Zach, of starting up with you. Ubaza V'Hitchil. And he started Behera Makom Acherim, right? And he showed, okay, look, don't be so awed by the Jewish people. Well, so you know what it's like, Chas V'Shalom, like a letz. Amaleik is called a letz. Everybody walks out of a shir. Rosh Hashanah gives a great shir, a moving drasha. You have to be better. Work on your midas. And someone comes up and says, I don't think you have to work on your midas, right? And suddenly everybody's kind of calm. That's why you have to be careful sometimes. You're in a meeting. I know the times I disagree with them, I don't open up my mouth. They're pushing a certain way. It's not my taste, not my cup of tea, but I'm not going to ruin their thing. Not my business, not my cup of tea. I realized at a certain point in time, they used to call you for meetings, Really, it wasn't a meeting to hear your opinion. It was more just to give you directions, what they wanted you to do, wherever it was, sometimes in a community, We're calling a meeting, a town hall meeting. Not a call out there, a town hall directive. Let's do this. Okay, not my cup of tea, but they're doing it fine. I'll keep my mouth shut. No. Amaleik comes and ruins the whole thing and cools everybody down. Okay? So both sides. Now here's what we want to understand. Listen carefully. One of the great things we learned from the Maral, one of the great things the great Moshe Shapiro gave to a generation of people, listeners, was to see that everything, just basically everything is hitting. It's not stam details. It's saying something, right? So this detail, which seems just a detail, like I said, it's a less famous pshat. Everybody agrees a less famous pshat is not just a detail. We're going to show and deal with the fact that it shows something very essential about the relationship between Klal Yisrael and Amaleik. And that's really what I want to share in our few moments together, this idea. Okay? And another question we want to deal with is we have a lot of people like to say that Israel's in a bad neighborhood, like we appreciate, right? We're having a tough time with Yishmael, right? We're Baruch Hashem, we've seen modern Amalekim, like Amaleik, whatever, but they're Yishmael. They're not Esav, not Amaleik genetically, DNA wise, right? Famous pshat, Moshe Soloveitchik used to say that anybody who wants to be like destroy the Jewish people also has a halacha like Amaleik. Okay, there is that type of Amaleik, that Amaleik, but in terms of the genetic Amaleik, people talk about Germany being it, but no one says that Paras is Amaleik, right? So we've had a tough time, right? With 4 Malchus, we had the Mitzrim, we have now we have Yishmael, we had Yavan, we had Paras, mother, Purim, right? So everybody gets that. It's a very interesting. One of the interesting things about Purim. So one of the, I think Rabbi Hirschel referred to this a little bit. Is not just that you had 2 figures, Achashverosh and Haman, is that you had Amaleik and working in another ummah called Paras, right? Paras, the Persian, was its own thing. Yes, Babel, the Babylonians. So we've been going through a lot. So is there an essential difference? Is Amaleik just a little bit worse, or is it different? All right? That's, in general, guys, analysis, and halachic analysis, and hashkafic analysis, well, that's an extremely important question. I think. Is it just a little bit more, or is it different? Okay? That's what we want to deal with. And what is our relationship to the non-Jewish world in a positive way? Right? Do we have, or it's just like us against the world, and there's no positive relationship we can have with non-Jews? Basically, I don't mean your coworker, but that we don't have a message to the non-Jewish world. Is there a relationship or not? Okay, so both sides. Those of you who were, those are the three things we're going to deal with. Now, I love to talk about this topic, right? I love to talk about the relationship to Jews and non-Jews, because I think it's a big topic in the Torah, and it's something which needs discussion, and it's a confusing topic sometimes because there are different things you hear, and we see. Let's start with Pesach. Let's start with Sukkot for a second, right? We know Sukkot. We have guests, and they're well treated guests. You know, they're the nations of the world. Nations of the world are a guest in a biblical Sukkot. What do I mean? You know what I mean?
Korbanos.
The Korbanos. We bring Korbanos for the nations of the world. And it says that they brought a Haganah to them. It also says they brought a Klayah to them. And we've discussed that. It's a contradiction in Rashi. Rashi says that the Korbanos were there helping the non-Jews. And it brought bracha to them. The 70 Korbanos we brought to them. On the other hand, the fact that we go down in their order from 13, 12, 11, 12, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9 to 7 is a 7 Klayah to them, a 7 destruction to them. That's a stira. That's a contradiction. Well, are they good for them or are they bad for them? I don't want to go into that contradiction. Stick around till I'm having to discuss it Sukkot time. We discuss it in Hoshana Rabbah. It relates to Sukkot, relates to Hoshana Rabbah. It's a very, very interesting Torah, a very, very nice Torah, not mine, from the Rishiv of Chevron, David Cohen. But you have to know that here's the language which you probably heard. On Shmini Atzeres, what makes Shmini Atzeres special is that's a day just between us and Kadosh Baruch Hu. What do you mean? What do you mean that day is special between us and Kadosh Baruch Hu? Yeah, because until then we were attending with the Orchim. There were Orchim that were treating in an honorable way, called the non-Jews. They had a seat at the table, so to speak. That was their korbanos, and those korbanos brought them great bracha. By the way, a guy is allowed to bring a korban during the year. Also, he's allowed to bring an olah, and we bring his korban. A nice non-Jew comes and says, "I'd like to bring a korban." It's a very interesting halacha. It's not discussed so much. But we bring that korban. Don't say, no, you're a guy, you get lost. It's not like that. You're a well-meaning person. A guy shalom Torah is Kehoin Gadol. The Gemara says that. You know that? A guy that lamed Torah, the Torah that he's allowed to learn, is Kehoin Gadol. The Gemara in Sanhedrin. So it's not so simple. The whole thing with the non-Jews. Yeah? So Rabosai, I'm not looking at anybody. I don't see without my glasses on. I'm just talking. Yeah? So it's not a simple topic. And the non-Jews definitely have a place. But here's the point. As we point out on Sukkot, it's a question of relationship, right? If you guys think that you're the Rebbe and I'm the Talmud, right? Something's messed up in the yeshiva, yeah? The yeshiva's not going to operate like that. Well, Rabbi Karlinsky, I know you have, I'll tell you, I can deal with a lot of things. I shouldn't say this on tape, but, the official policy yeshiva tell me that we're supposed to keep Shabbos. We've had guys who are going to keep Shabbos, and sometimes the Rebbe comes and says, do you know this guy doesn't keep Shabbos? It's like, there are guys, and there are people in the world who don't keep Shabbos. I wish they all did. But they don't. And some slip through the filter, and by being in yeshiva, hopefully they'll keep Shabbos. If a guy comes and says, I'm categorically never keeping Shabbos, and that I just want to learn Torah and etc., I just want to, I wouldn't take him in the yeshiva. But, someone who's close, one thing I can't be a Talmud who comes and says, you know what, I don't think Silberg knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? What's a default? What's the insanity of a default position? Like, what are you talking about? That's not how they learned in my old, in my old yeshiva. We all learn Rashi. Like, if you don't have that, you have no place in Shapell's. Rabbi Schoonmaker told me about a certain member. I remember I was upset. I try not to get angry at all in yeshiva, but I got very upset. Like, what do you mean? Like, if you're in Rabbi Silberg's classroom, so you're in a certain thing, that means you're a Talmud. That's what it means to be a student. If you go to a big professor, Lahavdil, in Harvard, right, and you're going to Talmud Shachar's class, so listen, I think categorically people have to be sad. So don't go to this class on positive psychology. Like, what are you doing? This guy is talking positive psychology. You don't want to hear it, so don't hear it. There'll be more room in the auditorium. What is wrong with you? i.e., one of the most important questions in life always is where you are in a relationship. When I'm with you guys, I have to realize that I am a Reshiva. I have to act such in a certain way, right? And I have to be a Rav, and I have to perceive it like that. When I go to my Rabbeim, it's a totally different thing. You think I go and strut my stuff when I go to Rabbi Yaakov Friedman? I go to Beitar, Rabbi, let me tell you a pshat, Agag, I have a new pshat, Agag, here it is, Guys, quiet down. Here's Agag, tell a few jokes. I sit there like a Talmud, because I'm a Talmud. You know why? Because I am a Talmud. And he has other Talmidim who are as smart as me, or much smarter than me, or etc. I'm a Talmud there. It's a total different role. One of the main things in life to know when you're a Talmud, when you're not a Talmud. Where am I in this? Am I a coworker? Is he the boss? Yeah. I think you ever had that something. None of you guys are like that at all. I don't think there's anybody in yeshiva like this. Like, sometimes you have a guy like just walks into the yeshiva like that, and he's like grabbing every spotlight. I remember I had someone walks into like I don't want to say what it was, but a certain yeshiva event. He's like dominating the whole event. It's something called like you feel comfortable right away, but you don't realize the guy's been here for like a year, 2 years, and you're grabbing the whole spotlight the whole time. You don't get it. It's like you're socially off. You understand what I'm saying? You guys get, you know what I mean? You're talking about? I don't know if you've been in such a situation. All you guys are very, very much not like that. Each one of you, and I don't think anybody's an issue. But it was unusual. I remember this guy's like he started, dancing, and he answered another question. There's a whole yeshiva. You just walked in like 3 hours ago. Like you don't know your place. Yeah, Makeris Makomo. It says a Chacham is Maker Makomo. What is place? Why are we saying this, Rabbi? Because the whole point of everything is relationships. Next step. Every relationship in the Bria, everything in the Bria goes on this point basically. Zachar and Nekeva. The whole world works Zachar and Nekeva. Man and woman. We don't realize how basic it is, but it's very, very basic. In the Kabbalistic literature, if you learn Nefesh Chaim, the whole thing is about one world is giving it to another. Watch this. There's a lot of worlds. What the world means, I don't know. Different levels of reality, let's call it that. Let's use other words we don't know. But one world is a Zachar and gives to the next world. Yeah? That's what Zachar gives to the Nekeva. And now, that world takes the light of the Zachar and gives it, and it becomes its own Zachar and gives to the Nekeva. And that world now becomes Zachar and Nekeva. It's all that. I'm telling you. If you look, have you ever heard in the Kabbalistic literature, I'm just giving you an example of how far it goes. They talk about zivug in between. Zivug is what we call a man and a woman that are together. It's called a zivug. The zivug is the relationship. Sometimes it refers to the general relationship. Sometimes it refers to the act. Right? That's how we talk. We talk about the different worlds, and one are mizdavig against each other. What do you think? They're mizdavig? What is that? It means that in a certain way it is, because Zachar and Nekeva is there. Shemayim Baritz. Who's the Zachar? Shemayim. The Shemayim is there to mashpia. We just read it, Ravosai, right? Asher called the Geshem comes. Holida v'tzmicha. The Geshem comes from above to give life to the ground below. The Shemayim is the Zachar, and the land is in the Nekeva. Rabbi Talmud, who's the Zachar? The Rabbi is the Zachar, and the Talmud is in the Nekeva. Some say, Ish echad be'elef matzasi. I find one man out of another. Ish b'chol lo matzasi. I haven't found the pasuk Koheles. I haven't found a single woman amongst a thousand. What does it mean? So I think the Haflah says, you know what it means? I didn't find someone who knows how to be a Talmud for long enough. Ish echad. I find people who want to be Rabbeim, but someone who's a Talmud, my brother-in-law is 45 years. He's still sitting by his Rebbe. It's incredible, That's why part of the reason it's so chashuv. He's still 45 years old. He still has a Rebbe that he goes to, that he hears from, etc. He's already mashpi himself a lot. But Isha, this is Be'erech the pasuk. Ish be'echad matzasi, Ish b'chol eila matzasi. I can't find any women. What does it mean? I don't find people who are really ready to be talmid enough. But they're called. The point is, he called the pasuk in Isha, right? And that's it. It's how it always is. The whole world works like that everywhere. And if you think about it, in almost any relationship you're in, sometimes with your friends, right? Sometimes you're there giving your friend chizuk. That's you being the ish or him being the nekeva. Now, obviously, you both say a nekeva we call women can take on characteristics. You have women who are more manly. Sometimes you have a man who's more womanly. But why do we talk like that? Because it means, but you're adopting that thing. You could have in a relationship, a woman is being mashpia more than the husband sometimes, etc. Right? But the basic way it's built is that the zachar is the mashpia, and just like you find in the action itself, right? In the sexual action itself, he's mashpia and she's makabel. Esther was called karka olam. If any of you guys learned that sugya, what does that mean? Ein kabbalah gadol mizeh, right? The woman is karka olam, and the man is being mashpia on her. Learn from the Bria. The Baruch Hashem set up a nice world. Everybody talks about the Eibush still like the world. He set up a beautiful world, and that way it's also a beautiful world. The world which has a lesson. You know what I mean? That's why does it work like that? And then she develops that. Then she develops his light, etc. I heard a great thing one time. Why does sometimes you see great people, their kids go off the derech? There's sort of different explanations for it. But someone, Rabbi Gershfeld, actually told me one time, he said that he thinks it's because sometimes these people are so busy, not they don't spend enough time with their kids, they don't spend enough time with their wives. And the light of the husband doesn't go into the wife, and then the wife doesn't have what to give over to the children. That's where the break is. The popular way to think about he's so busy, he doesn't spend time with his kids, right? He said, no. The light of the husband isn't going into the wife. He's not getting lit up by him. That's what the problem is. He's so busy for understandable reasons, etc. But he makes a mistake. So that's all he did. Zachar Nekev Bosai. That's it. Us. No, let's go. Shir Shirim. We heard the book Shir Shirim. Another Megillah. All right. Some people say learn that Megillah every week called Shir Shirim. Who's the Zachar in Shir Shirim? Hashem. Who's the Nekeva? Israel. Right. But Sasi. Then everybody there you understand Bosai, right? We all understand that Rosh Hashanah is not the Nekeva. He's the Zachar. He's giving that shwa. Now, Rabbi, I just want to say here on the point, you understand now a little bit, and believe me, there are a lot more examples than the ones I'm giving you. Just we've listed a bunch, right? Let's just pause them for a second. Shemayim va'aretz, pretty basic, right? God and the Jewish people, pretty basic. Man and woman, pretty basic. The whole way that the reproduction action works, pretty basic, right? Very basic. So you understand, when the modern world is playing against Zachar when it came, my son said to me one time, Abba, why do you get so upset about the progressives that are talking about, like there are people from Chal Shabbos. Chal Shabbos is a problem in Deis. It's true, but when someone's coming against the whole fabric of existence, you understand, it's a different level of problem. It's terrible to people from Chal Shabbos, but you're talking insanity, right? Someone's coming and saying, I don't believe in gravity. You know what I'm saying? I deny gravity. Let's have a world where let's have a world without gravity. Not a theory, not a game, not the next Minecraft. Not the next. Not the next Minecraft. I want to make a game without gravity. That's cool. A game without gravity could be really lovely. No. Our reality, right? This is not foreign because of gravity. It's not. It's foreign because of kukuruku. You know what I mean? And if you don't believe in kukuruku, you're messed up. You know what I mean? You can lose your job because gravity is a bad term and kukuruku is a good term. So you understand the kilkel, how awesome it is that you're hitting something the basic way that besides the basic sanity, which I hope you guys all have to understand. There's men, there's women. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But besides that, it's in Torah. It's such a basic concept that's everywhere. So you want to say what's wrong? Because there's nobody to talk to. If you don't understand, you're not going to know what a Talmud is. You're not going to know what a wife is. You're not going to know what a husband is. You're not going to understand a lot of how to operate. It's like someone says, I don't have gravity. You don't have gravity, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. You know what I mean? No, I can walk off the cliff and it'll be all right. No, you can't. I can't. Go watch. Because kukuruku, which I made this is called kukuruku. That applies over here, but not on a cliff, so I can walk off the cliff. Yeah, no. It doesn't work like that. Don't work like that. But so understand, appreciate the kilkel that how we're hurting ourselves, hurting society is hurting itself. It's not, that you can't. We're talking about something which is going on, and you see how far it's going. I hope it's going to calm down, but who knows? It could go back. But that. It's very bad. Yeah.
Could you clarify when you said that Shabbos isn't as much part of the fabric of the way that the creation?
Shabbos is meaning we could imagine a world. We wouldn't like a world, but Shabbos is a matana. Shabbos, Kadosh Baruch Hu gave Shabbos to the Jewish people, right? So until He gave it to us, it wasn't there, right? And you and I can imagine a world. We can perceive a world where it doesn't exist. There's no world that doesn't have Zachar and Nekev in it. That's what I mean to say.
But don't we also say that about like Torah's a matana, but on the other hand, but the other hand, God looked into the Torah and created the world.
Right. Okay, so that's on some level. I know that's a good point, right? At some point, you're right at a certain point, but. You're right. I can't deny what you're saying. I think here's the point. There's no way to think about Zachar and Nekeva, in my understanding, as being basic. You see what I'm saying? I have no understanding of it besides that it's basic. What's happening everywhere. Torah, we can talk about it on this level. We can talk about it on that level, right? You and I, when we're learning Torah, we're not thinking, right now this is how the world was created. We're thinking, like, here's Shorshanaga Sapara. What's the getter of Kriyas Megillah? We're not thinking about that level. You know what I'm saying? So we can relate to a level of Torah and Shabbos, which is not basic. That's what I mean to say. That's what I mean to say. It's that basic. It's just how it is. Okay, so both sides. Now, so Baruch Hashem, so we learn Zachar Nekeva. How many people have heard that from me before? The Zachar Nekeva is a very, very basic concept. Okay, I'm happy we shared it. Okay, so I try to get to it a lot. Now, let's get to the money. Yisrael v'Masolim. Who's the Zachar, who's the Nekeva? Yisrael. Now, guys, that's a beautiful thing. That means the Goyim is supposed to be your wife. That means we have a message for them. Or an Orla Goyim means that they're my Nekeva, not that I'm gonna that I have a relationship that right in the ultimate picture. By the way, the Rabbeinu Yonah brings, some Sober brings, that Hasidim, I mean high level people, care about the Goyim. You know, they do. Now, maybe not every Yid is on the level to worry about them. First worry about Klal Yisrael. But definitely I care about the rest of humanity. You don't want the rest of, we don't let the whole world go to pot. No, you don't want such a world. And it makes sense. And that's what we see on Sukkot. But here's the point. When does it work? And that's the idea, by the way, the Korbanot's getting less. This is what David Cohen says. When it goes from 13, 12, 11 to 7, then what I'm doing is I'm taking out the non-Jews' problem is when they stand against Klal Yisrael. When they stand against Klal Yisrael, that's when they're messed up. Right? Meaning, we have a great message for you, Shmuel. A great message. You have purpose. You have Shemitz B'nai Noach. You can serve us. You can keep them. You can keep us safe. You know, Yishmael. I heard once. I didn't hear from him. I know. I heard Moshe Shapiro say one time. Really, Yishmael B'Tikkuno is supposed to be saving the Jewish people from Esav. That's the way it's supposed to work. You know, you have a great message. You know, 7 commandments. No. We're the ones. You're not the ones. That's where the problem is. When they're not ready to be the Nekeva, that's where everything messes up. Because it's not that Jewish people have a message for us. It's that we have a message for them, or they have to be destroyed. So now the whole Bria doesn't work well. That's the Tikkun of Bria. I want to tell you, if you want to understand, part of the reason I love talking about this now is because this is the essence of Amaleik, as we're about to get into, but it's the essence of what goes on the whole year. This is what are you dying for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? This is what you're dying for Yom Kippur. This is before the Ramchal, the Mamre Chachma. That's what it means. It means the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to get his light to Klal Yisrael, and then the non-Jews are going to make a good achas and get behind us, and then they're going to be elevated. And eventually, they're going to be a higher level than we are now. We're going to go up from Madrigas. They're going to go up a level, but it all has to fit. It's the same thing. Exactly, guys, go back to my marshal. If you're coming to Shapell's, you don't understand we have something to offer you in learning, so don't come. Like, if you don't, I think there's a better Derech Halim than Birchas Torah. Yeah, Femo, so go to Birchas Torah. Like, if you don't think Rabbi Schoonmaker has anything to treat, it doesn't, the whole relationship is messed up. That's what I meant, right? So the guys live less religious, we could work with them, but because if you're just like, the whole yeshiva, I think the yeshiva in essence is off. So there's nothing for you, there's nothing, you can't find yourself here. Right, wrong, it's messed up. Yeah? That's the point. So there is now guys, deep down, here's the point. All the non-Jews can get this message. They're not operating it that way now. But there's one nation who stands against, always, won't be with us, and that's Amaleik. It's a fascinating thing. And we'll read the Maharal in a second, but Mengele, Yimach Shemo, the doctor in Auschwitz turned to a Swedish nurse, I think once. He said, "Yeah, you have to know, there are only 2 world players in the world scene. 2, us and the Jews. Everybody else is like pawns." That's what he saw, which is absolutely fascinating. He saw that because that's true. It's really Ba'omek. He saw the way it was. And I want to show you, this is my raya. You see this in the Purim story itself. It's very, very interesting, right? Achashverosh, let's do Pashup Shat, Pshuta Shemikra, because Chazal say that Achashverosh really hated the Jews also. But let's say Pashup Shat in the Megillah. You know what I mean? Without. Here's a nation that are living amongst all the nations. Achashverosh is a guy. Haman comes. His viceroy comes and says, "I want to destroy the nation." "Oh, okay, you want to destroy them? Fine, here's my ring." Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then, how long was the whole story? It was the 13, 14, 15. Like that, he switches. That's all. That was the whole story, right? It was 15, 16. It was a 2-3 day deal, and now he switches around. So you see that Achashverosh is silly putty in the hands of Amaleik and Yisrael, like Mengele said. Right? Oh, you want to destroy them? Amaleik, you want to destroy Jews? Okay, I'll do that. Oh, Jews, you want to destroy Amaleik? I can do that. So who is he? He's silly putty, exactly like Mengele said. Now let's see the Maral Rabosai. Gur Aryeh. Shemitam Osam, Gur Aryeh is the parish of the Maral on Rashi and Chumash. If you like Maral and you like Rashi, it's a wonderful parish to learn. It also is, it has a lot of Pashup Pshat. It's an amazing parish. Like, what is that about? The Maral said, like, why are they doing Mishkav Zafar? Duh. All the nations are there to serve purpose to the Jewish people. As it says, and you will control nations, and they will not control you. Besides Amaleik, they don't connect us. It doesn't work. They can't connect us. They can't have that relationship that we have with other nations. Therefore, they're called our staunch enemy. She calls Guys, that's the point. Now you understand why I call this the essence? Because when they're around, it can't get fixed. The whole Bria, which is waiting to get aligned, it's like a team. You ever have the team? I've recently realized how much in sports Achdus really makes a difference. I didn't know it did. You just buy the best players. It's not going to work. You'll play very well, but you're not going to be a championship. It's Achdus. It has to come together. So the Ganze Bria is waiting to get together. So why are we so against the Amaleik? Because they stand against the Achdus. Because the Achdus doesn't mean we're all even. The Achdus means we're all in the role that we're supposed to be. Right? Just like this yeshiva is going to work well when there's some level of hierarchy. Yeah? Otherwise it's the whole thing will fall apart. So the whole world will work when there's a hierarchy. And the non-Jews, in their essence, are ready for it. Right? Ostensibly they're not ready for it. They're fighting us. But deep down Yishmael is ready. On some level. Right? And the other nations, all 70 are not one. But Amaleik's not ready. No chibur. I don't want to do it. I have nothing to do. Exactly like Mengele said. There's us and there's you. It's either, and guys, you ever wonder, why were the Nazis so rabidly against Jews? Like, what was it deep in? So I think, on a Ashkavic level, that this is the point. As much as they're connected to Amaleik, they can't see the Jewish people as being, we can't. We're the ones. Right? That was the plan. We're going to take up Europe. They had plans for Europe, plans for Israel. For sure they had plans for Israel, right? They're knocking on, knocking. Rama was knocking. So we're taking over the world. The Jews can't be. If we want to take over the world, they can't be. Slavs can be. England can be. We don't love Slavs. England he had some cover for. Yachshon did have cover for England. He wasn't such a fan of FDR, but he had cover for England. But we can stand there with them, right? I'm sure we're going to be the Yoni. Church will be underneath us, but the Jews have to be eradicated. Why? Because that's in the DNA. Because it's a battle to the death. These guys, we can't get together with them. That's the point. It's a deep thing. Yeah? Let's go a little further. I'll take questions. Lefikach, Yisrael was kamadregas ishim yisha. Yisrael, the nation, is like a man and a woman. Kidich bo gamkein, v'uyim shalbach. Right? Now, we'll say, the Maral is emphasizing the moshel aspect, but I think it's, you can speak about it without Dafka being the moshel aspect of us controlling them. I like, we can talk about it being guiding them, etc. But the Maral is not saying guiding, like I was saying, it's more emotional. He's zocha, isha emotional as well. If the man is not zocha, right, so the woman bosses him around, right? There's no achdus in the relationship. So that's what goes on with us in the nations. If we're who we should be, and they're who they should be, so we're going to fall into line into a nice man-woman relationship. If not, we will fight with the non-Jews, definitely. With Paris, with Mother, with Yavin, with all of them, right? Etc. Just like when the Shalom Bayis is off. The woman can't eat, right? The man says, I'd really like corned beef for Shabbos. No! You know what I'm saying? We can only have chicken. Like, really? Wait, is it a financial thing? No. In my house we had corned beef. I don't want to hear it. It's not financial, honey? No. So why can't we have corned beef? Because I wear the pants in the family. That's going to be a kilkel and Shalom Bayis, right? I know what they tell the women, but they don't tell them do that, right? He doesn't want corned beef, give him corned beef. He's a silly man. Okay, take it easy, right? Now, I just want to say something from both sides. Obviously, today there's a certain shivyon between men and women. Women are very smart. But at the end of the day, it is, you see, it's certainly emotionally, women are more independent than men are. That's part of the way it's built. It's not, Don't, be ready. If you want to get married, you got to be ready to lead a little bit, A woman wants revolver rights, a woman wants to lead. You have to respect your wife's individuality, you have to respect her seicha, you have to respect she's smarter than you in certain ways. Of course, it doesn't mean that's not a stira, right? You don't think when the Jews are drawing from the Parisian knowledge of something, the Paris has something to say. And in Olam they're teaching us also. You get it? In the fixed world. But the one who wears the pants is the Jewish people. Okay? Lefikach Yisrael imumus k'madres ishi yimishad. Yichsiv im ein ish zocham ish moshelis b'chem chas v'shalom ein Yisrael zochim almost ein moshel maleim. So if we're not who we should be, then we go into the non-Jews. Sof seder mitzias. Yeah, that's the word, guys. The nature of the world, the seder of mitzias, how it's supposed to be. In Yisrael imumus k'mo ishi mishah. Yisrael ha'ish echad. V'yachol lo li'ish echad nashim. Now, this is a fascinating thing. V'yachol lios ish echad nashim harbe. Right? A man can have. Do you ever wonder why in Torah can a man have many wives? Well, what is that? And why can't a man? By the way, I read a book about Tibet, a famous book. I think the most famous book about Tibet. These two English guys, or somewhere German maybe, they got into Tibet. Tibet was closed. It was like closed. So medically sealed, you couldn't get in. These guys got in, and they even got close to the young Dalai Lama. It's a fascinating book. It was called 7 Years in Tibet. So, anybody hear the book? 7 Years in Tibet. I read the book, 7 Years in Tibet. This guy got in. He was friendly. Dalai Lama, that guy? He's still alive? So he was friends with Dalai Lama when he was younger. He used to have a lot of schmoozing with him. And he used to schmooze with the young Dalai Lama. And he said that there was a woman there that had 3 husbands. When he was traveling Tibetan countryside, there was a woman, she had 3 husbands. Okay, it doesn't work like that in Torah, right? But theoretically, you get out there. Now, in our Ashkenazic world, that doesn't happen, right? But in the Sephardi world, it happened. 2 generations ago, it happened, right? What is that? Because that's the point, Zachar and Nekeva. Just like a Rebbe in a certain way, right? You can't, if a person, like right now, if you're Rabbi Karlinsky shir, you can't be Rabbi Silberg shir. It's going to mix you up. You got to get the Karlinsky method. Now you get the Silberg method, right? But Rabbi Karlinsky can have a lot of Talmidim. The idea of a Zachar can go into a lot of places, but in a cave it can only handle one surah, right? What is the idea of Chomer and surah? Maharal's not talking. In another place, Maharal talks about this. Wood. You guys know, like surah is the design, Chomer is the materials. The design, materials. Wood. How many different surot could wood have? Only one. It's either a shtender, it's a table. Or it's firewood. You can't do it, right? But the design of a table can go into thousands and thousands and millions of firewoods. Yeah, that's what he means here. That's like, so Yisrael is the Ish, could be the Ish that has all these women. We could have a Parisian, right? The Paris will be our wife, and Rome will be our wife, etc. V'yachlo the Ish echad nashim harbe, Yisrael him echad gamkein umas harbe. Okay? Both say, the goal this year is not that you decide you're going to marry more than one woman. Don't do that, right? No. No. One wife is plenty. We go deeper. I think we're not on the Madrega to have 2 women today. Maybe Sfardim were, but I don't think we were on the Madrega in a lot of ways. That's my shot. But okay, 1 second. Yeah, what's your question?
I have a lot of questions. I guess on the most recent topic, we say in is Pirkei Avos, I think, like Ezu Hacham, the one who learns from everybody. It sounds like that status of being in a keva, the status of receiving from a Rebbe,
right? That
person is actually getting it from many different.
Who is
the Talmud who's learning from everybody? You were saying before that you can't.
So there's 2 levels of it, right? There's something when you're learning from everybody, that means that there's a lot of different aspects to life, and you can learn a lot of aspects to life from a lot of people, which is super important. I've been dealing with that in my Vod on Sundays. Definitely. But that's not a Rebbe, you understand? That's not a Tzura. When I'm learning, it's not like, I want to know how to learn, right? How to live life. Oh, my taxi driver told me this. My Arab taxi driver told me this. Now I know how to live life. No. He has a certain chachma, which he definitely has, through the experiences he's had. My Arab taxi driver, or my Irish bus driver, whoever, or whatever, and I'm alone with Koladim, he has something to teach me. But it's not a Rebbe, it's not a Tzura. It's not a lifestyle, it's not, you never be a Rebbe Muvak. Or if someone comes and says, my Rebbe Muvak is that really? That's unusual, right? Someone says, well, how would you guys take it, right? So it was my main teacher in life was my taxi driver, right? So like, what was he? Was he? No, he's just a regular taxi driver. That was your main teacher in life? That's unusual, right? That would be highly unusual. Someone says, Rabbi Hirsch was my main teacher in life. Oh, I get that, right? Or even a college professor. You get it because college professors, right? So my main taxi, was he like, oh, you must, no, he was just like a regular taxi driver. Like, so what did you teach it? Well, he taught me about fares and he had some good political angles and, he liked the Democrats, he liked the Republicans, he liked Netanyahu, he didn't like them. No, for sure you can learn from everybody. So yeah, it's not the tzura, it's not the
And then I think the more like foundational question was, like at the end of Aleinu we say, right. So there's that achdus that we're describing.
Right, exactly.
Here we're saying that we can't have achdus so long as Amaleik is in the world, but the steer is we don't even know who Amaleik is. So how do we actually?
No, exactly.
How does that pasuk become fulfilled?
We have to get rid of him. That's what I'm saying. So
how when we don't know?
How are we actually going to get rid of him? I don't know. It could be when Elio comes, he'll tell us. When people look, there's going to be a grand record. We don't know exactly how it's going to look at the end, how things are going to unfold. It could be Hashem will do it. It could be when we align ourselves, the Kadosh Baruch Hu will get rid of him. Look, it's pretty amazing, right? As Aro was saying, it happened on Tchias Mason. Hashem is, you have to know, as much as we're working to fix things up, Kadosh Baruch Hu is working a lot more. Matzmiach Yeshua is already for Kadosh Baruch Hu is setting things up. When we'll align ourselves, here's how I imagine it'll work. I don't really know exactly. I imagine the more we align ourselves, the more things will align, and the more, or the day will come, the Baruch Shalom is going to open our hearts and open our sins, and it'll make it known. Elio is going to come, right? Elio comes before Mashiach, yeah? So when Elio comes, he'll point out, this is an Amalekite, this is an Amalekite, this is an Amalekite, etc. Or it could be maybe even there's so mixed up today that it's just a question of philosophy, and the philosophy would be brought though. You see what I'm saying? But definitely, I just want to emphasize what you say because that's mamish what the Ramchal says in Derech Hashem. That achdus, the way that achdus, what does that achdus look like? He says clearly, Rabbeinu says that the way the achdus looks is that it goes through Yisrael, and then once they're muchad underneath us, then they get the achdus through us. That's exactly how it works. That's why. By the way, that's why when you think when someone's going to say, well, everybody's the same, you're being misnagit achdus because in a world where everybody's the same, the world can never get to its tikkun. At least in the books I know. I don't think they know other books. It's hard to get a better book than the Ramchal. I mean, he's the best, right? So, and it makes sense. So, let's see the last paragraph, guys. We're almost finished for those who are getting tired. Amaleik hasonim mismid. Now you get it, guys? Everybody, so now what's Mishkav Zachar? 2 men. That's it. Amaleik hasonim have misnaged. Eino mishtabetach Yisrael. Dim shehulu Zachar gankin. He's also a Zachar. Right? He says, no, I'm the man. I can never be the woman. Right? Me'achishu misnagil Yisrael. Kasher Yisrael gover maleim oses kabras leim lashmirotam v'mchodatam b'ntachas hashamayim. So guys, that's why that's why there's no Eitzah. Either they're going to kill us. It is mortal combat. Either we're going to take them out or they're going to take us out because we can't. It doesn't fit. Right? Kasher gover mzar malik dover ze'enu rak mishkot zacher shemoshel al zacher came jen mzar malik chibur im Yisrael. So that's the point. So both say, what were the question we said? Remember we said, what's our relationship to non-Jews? We know the ultimate tikkun of the relationship is a man, is Zakar and Keva, right, etc. And that's when the world is going to fit its tikkun, and that's when things are going to be beautiful. Yeah, good. Amaleik, we asked this idea of Mishkav Zachar. Is it just weird, or was it symbolic? It was weird and symbolic. No, but it was symbolic because this is the point. In that detail, we get across the whole. That was the whole point of what was going on. Because Amaleik says we're going after Yisrael, right? Midyan is going to come after us. Ammon is going to come out of us with women. Amaleik doesn't come after us with women because it's all the relationship. It's all what they're saying. They're saying we're going to be Yisrael is not going to go. We're going to be the Zachar. Amaleik says we're going to be the Zachar. That's going to create a situation of Mishka Zachar. That's going to create a homosexual relationship. That's what's going on. Incredible. Okay, that's what it is. So now we're both saying what I love is this third shot. We see how essential it is. Right. The other shot in Rashi, Mikra, everybody talks about. Right. And Ambacha making us cold, everybody talks about it. But this idea, you see, that's why I call this the essence of Amaleik. This is the essence of Amaleik, a counterforce to us in the world. Exactly like Amaleik said. He said it right. There's only 2 players in the world. Mengele hit it. Incredible that he saw it. And I understand that you see a lot of times in big points in history, you see that there's a certain truth which comes up, which world leaders grab onto. It's past their ego. It's past something. It's they see the grand plan. A lot of times they don't, but there is this grand plan. So I think that was a moment of insight in Mengele's point to see the grand plan. Yeah.
My question is, let's say all the other nations of the world didn't exist, and it was just us and Amaleik.
Right.
Would this, that would be taking away a big part of what this claiming Amaleik to be, which is disrupting our relationship with the other nations.
Right. Correct.
In some way. So if that were the case, if it's just Amaleik and us, what does Amaleik do?
So I think they would still come against us because they would still. It's like when you put two alpha males together, right? The monkeys, they fight even if they're no women because it's at the end of the day, it's the world, right? So I would imagine it would still be a brawl. It could be a terrible brawl, right? If there's no one else I think take two prize fighters. For sure, there's a lot of money, a lot of covet, everything. But at the end of the day, they want to be the best fighter in the world, right? So. Mm-hmm. I don't think like in COVID, the teams were still playing. There wasn't geschmack, but the teams are still playing because at least the Seahawks still want to beat the Patriots. The Patriots want to beat the Seahawks. Even if you said to them guys, okay, here's the story. I don't know what happened. Like no fans came. Like big disappointment. No one's tuned in. They're watching. No one wants to watch the Super Bowl. I think it would be a big turnout for the players, but they want to play. Okay, but still, I have to prove myself to Americans and Canadians are going to play anyway. Like I had to prove myself to. So I imagine we would still. It's batsum. There's a world. So there's the Baruch Hashem, there's a world. So at the end of the day, they could be on a desert island. We're still going to fight on a desert island because we want to. It's an interesting question you're saying, but at the end of the day, we're here to lead, and you're there not to lead. If Amaleik wasn't there, then we would be okay. We'd just be. If Amaleik wasn't there, guys, just like believe me, I'm happy when I'm a Talmud. You know what I mean? I don't have to. I'm happy to hear other people. I'm happy to hear my Rabbeim. Sure, man. Definitely happy to hear my Rabbeim, right? Like anybody. Not me, I'm saying the great Adaris. Adaris is one of the greatest Talmidei Chacham of his generation, one of the Gedolei Dor Mamish. I saw he wrote it when he was like 60. He said, I'm still waiting to like Mishamish Chachamim again. He was waiting the day to bask in the light of other people. All Klal Yisrael wants to do. It's like, you've heard that expression. If the Arabs would put down their weapons, we'd have peace. If the Jews would put down peace, we'd have no Israel. We're a peace-loving nation. I don't think we want to. We don't. It's true. I know Chayalim. You know Chayalim. Yonatan doesn't wants to fight. They want to fight. Yonatan wants to fight. Yarden wants to fight. Once there's an enemy, we want to fight. We don't want to fight. Stop. We want to we want to make high tech. We want to get $100 million. We don't want to fight. That's the point. You understand? I think once there's no battle, we'll happily just be in love with God. Shir, let's go. Let's not fight. We don't want to fight Goyim. Let's just do shir. I think, yeah. Yes.
I just want to clarify, what is the foundational problem with Amaleik? Because reflecting more, they're not undoing the Zachar Nekeva relationship overall. They just think they're the Zachar.
Right.
We want to say we're the Zachar. Right. No, they want to say they're the Zachar.
Right.
So they're not breaking apart the system, but they're confusing
us.
They're confusing us.
They're confusing us and confusing the world. Because now, exactly, it's just like Mengele said, right? It means now, so to speak, listen, I'm not saying there are a lot of problems in the world, right? If you say to me, is our biggest problem right now that some unknown enemy calls it, what should I be more concerned about right now? Iran or Amaleik? I think you should be concerned with Iran, right? I talk a lot more about radical Islam than I talk about Amaleik. Yeah, why? Because radical Islam is our problem right now. I speak a lot more about Yetzirah because our problem is technology. So you can say everything is Amaleik, whatever, right? So you're not wrong. But here's the point. It's like in the way it works, there's something which is always. Let's say the yeshiva again. Let's say right now there's a little discord between Rabbi Schneider and the guys for some reason, right? Unlikely situation, but there's some discord or something. But then there's a certain Rebbe who's mamish hates Rabbi Schneider's guts, yeah, in the background. So there's a discord there that's there, and that discord has to be worked on, and that's more felt in the yeshiva right now as the discord which exists, and we got to fix that. Yeah, we got to make a tiyul, we got to look on for Shabbos, give a shir, something, have a town hall meeting here, something. We got to get that. But the fact that Rebbe hates his guts, right? These are all theoretical situations, which I could have said me, I just wanted to make the much off of me, for instance, right? That's throwing things off bets, because that means, tell me the Rebbe was kind of doubting, like, but why does X-Rebbe so against him? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? So that's the point. Amaleik is always creating a counter to us. So it's not, again, I'm not saying there are plenty of problems. Right now, you say, what's the more immediate problem in the yeshiva? You have to deal with discord, right? Why are the guys upset? What's going on? Why is he upset? That's what you have to deal with, right? But deeper, there's a deeper issue. So Amaleik is deeply, deeply throwing things off all the time. And let's just say, like, he's whatever that is, the koach of Amaleik, not necessarily the people of Amaleik, the ideology, the philosophy, all the things you've heard about Amaleik is penetrating always, yeah? Just like in the Purim story, Josh, where we see Haman influencing Achashverosh, that's going on today also. In other words, a certain way to say it, like, we don't know how much of radical Islam is messed up because of Amaleik. Yeah, I don't mean because the Mufti and Hitler got together for a little bit. That's one of the great mistakes Netanyahu made as a son of historian. Shame on him, was he said narishkeit about that once. You know that Netanyahu got up and said like how central that was. The Mufti of Jerusalem got together with Hitler in 37 to 38, 39. You know, and Netanyahu made a big deal about it once. It's foolishness.
Right.
Because it wasn't that significant. It was a very big, small shot. There was one division. There's one division of Arab guys against there were 180 divisions of Germans. It was a sideshow. It was a historical mistake. But ask you to get over. So, but I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about the philosophy of Amaleik. You don't know how much. We don't know how much. We just don't know, right? How much of Western society. We don't know how much Amaleik's influence. Just like that situation, right? How much is that Rebbe's vibe? Like, ostensibly, the guys upset at Rabbi Schneider because he was yelling at them, right? That's why. That's ostensibly. But you don't know how much that Rebbe being against him is really what's causing all the friction. We don't know because we don't know how much is happening. So Amaleik is all over. See what I'm saying? So in terms of what we see, the ostensible problems we have are X, Y, Z. But it's Amaleik is an unbelievable force who's never going to be in line. Okay? All right, so that's why I call it the essence of Amaleik. We should be zocha to see. We should be zocha. So what's the message, guys? Be leaders. That's it. Realize you're the ones who should lead the world. Klal Yisrael has a message to lead the world. We're the Or L'Goyim. This is what it means to be the Or L'Goyim, and that means have compassion. You see a non-Jew who's ready to hear from you something. Talk to him. Have a nice, talk to him. Give him a message of Amunah. You don't know. And we should see.